Hello, very good day to everyone. I'm Gaddix Games, and here we are in another Mobile Legends video, and this time I'm bringing you an update. Regarding the October tier list, we've already reached the middle of the month, and there are some heroes that have changed their position in the tier list. So I thought it was best to update it because 2 weeks have already passed and, well, some things have changed. So from now on, I'm going to bring 2 tier lists per month. We'll begin with the experience lane. Before we start, I want to clarify that I didn't make this tier list myself, but I gathered it by looking at different tier list creators. This one is from Instagram, and this one is from the same creator I already uploaded. The previous tier list, which overall seems to me the most accurate or the one I agree with the most, is based not only on global ranked statistics, but also on competitive play. Many people often complain that the tier lists I uploaded didn't take competitive into account. Well, this tier list takes everything into account. Alright, so at the lowest level of the experience lane, which would be C tier, heroes that need a buff, we have Aulus, Aldous, Argus, also Zun, Zilong, Jin, and Sylvana. I'm a bit surprised by Sylvana and Zun. I thought they'd be a bit higher, but apparently that's how they've been lately. The next level would be B tier. Okay heroes, meaning they're more or less fine or good. We have Alucard, Leomord, Minotaur, Masha, also Valeric, Jawhead, Alpha, and Valmon. Then we move on to A tier, decent heroes. We have Alice, Xiao, Akai, Benedetta, Grok, Hylos, Lucas, Barats, Paquito, Martis, and Freya. Well, honestly, I pretty much agree too. I think these are heroes that can be useful. In the experienced lane, the next level would be A+, generally good. We have Vidan, Yuzan, Thomas, Vaxia, Edith, Gato, Katja, Vayne, Exborg, Ruby, Terizla, and Guinevere. Well, almost all of them are fighters who have a lot of endurance and also good damage. But if I have to choose some of these, I would go with Exborg. I think he's been performing really well lately, also Vayne. And then we also have to mention that I've seen him and he's pretty tough. And Yuzan, Yuzan always gives you that extra mobility and also a lot of endurance and at the same time, damage. Now let's move on to S- level. These would be conditional heroes. I mean, they're not going to do well in 100% of the matches, but in the ones where they can fit in, it will depend on the enemies and also on the composition. They're very strong. We have Arloth, Khalid, Glue, Hilda, and Darren. And finally, S+ level would be the strongest in the meta. We have Sissy, Lapu Lapu, Esmeralda Pavais, and Uranus. Well, out of these, the one that really surprised me is Esmeralda. I honestly didn't expect Esmeralda to be an S+. I think this is because of the competitive scene, I guess. It seems like she's really performing well there. But for solo queue, she's a hero I wouldn't recommend. If I get matched against her, she's easy to counter. Just press S to shut her down, at least in solo queue. I don't think she's a good pick. Now let's move on to the roam role. Well, let's start with the lowest tier, which would be C, heroes that need a buff. We have Saber and Helcurt. Well, Saber, even though some time ago he was good at roaming, personally, I don't really like assassins that go roam. The only one I would somewhat accept is Saber, but as for Helcurt, honestly, I wouldn't recommend him. And we see he's also in the lower tier. Using him as a jungler isn't ideal since he needs a buff, according to this tier list. But I wouldn't recommend you play any jungler assassin, at least not when playing solo. Next level, we have B, heroes that are okay. We have Atlas, Ruby, Natalia, Veleric, Masha, Mincetar, and Johnson. Well, there we have Natalia. Well, same as I said before, I don't like jungler assassins. And I like Natalia even less because I feel like in late game, she leaves you really, really exposed, as they say. I don't really like Masha either. Even though she's tough, I don't think she's a good option for jungling because she doesn't have any crowd control either. So out of these, I would go with Atlas, also Veleric, and if you're good at handling him, Uber too. One level higher, a level decent heroes. We have Akai, Minotaur, Carmilla, Estes, Rafaela, DG, and Jax. Well, we have some supports and also tanks. Out of these, I would go with Rafaela. I think Rafaela, even though she was much more overpowered in previous months, I still think she's a good option. And also, in late game, she has the bonus that she can revive a teammate. And in late game, that can help you a lot. So out of these, I would go with Rafaela. Now let's move on to the next level, a plus. Generally, the good heroes are Angela, Kufra, Kaya, Arlott, Florin, Lolita, Franco, Badang, Tigreal, Guinevere, and Edith. Well, in this group, which is quite large, we have some fighters who are used as tanks, for example, Arlott, Badang, and Guinevere. And out of those three, I would choose Badang. For me, Badang is the best option among those three fighters to go roam. Then we have Angela. I think Angela is an excellent option, but it will depend a bit on the heroes your teammates pick. I mean, if they all pick squishy heroes, Angela won't be useful at all, but if they pick something tanky, like, I don't know, a Barat's Jungle or Fredrin, she would be the best option. That's when she becomes unstoppable. So Angela, even though she's in the meta, I might put her as conditional. And then from the others, well, Tigreal I think is a good option. Always reliable in late game, especially if he lands a combo on you. I think he can solve any team fight. Now let's move on to S- tier, which would be conditional. We have Cho, Matilda, Vaxia, and Hylos. Well, we have Cho there, who in my opinion isn't useful in solo queue, but in competitive play, Cho is always a good option. And Matilda? I don't think she's being used much in solo queue right now either, but in competitive play, I think she's used more. And finally, we have the S+ tier meta heroes. We have Chip, Grok, Khalid, Gatotkacha, Kalea, and Hilda. I'm a bit surprised that Chip is back in the meta because in previous months he was way behind, at least in solo queue until he got a bit of a buff. And now I think he's come back strong. Then, among these roamers, I think another good option would be Gatotkacha because of how tough he is. Honestly, he's really annoying. And also Kalea. Now let's move on to the mid lane. At the lowest tier, which would be C, we have heroes that need a buff, like Harley. Well, I totally agree. I think Harley really needs a good buff for mid. Next level, level B. Okay, we have Vale, Eudora, and Gusion. Well, out of these, the one I like the least is Gusion. I think he's a hero that never really convinced me for mid. Not even when Gusion was more overpowered, he never really convinced me to put him in the mid lane, but oh well. The next level would be A decent. We have Setien, Aurora, Gord, Xavier, Cyclops, Valir, Odette, and Zaz. Well, I pretty much agree, although I would put Xavier one level higher. I think Xavier's really overpowered. With the combo of his abilities, he can have a lot of crowd control and also a lot of damage in lane. Maybe he's not that strong in the early game, but he's still annoying. As for the others, I'm not completely convinced about Valir. I think Valir could go one tier lower. Next tier, a plus would generally be good. We have Lunox, Sicilian, Kadita, Luoyi, Vexana, Chang'e, Vayne, and Lilia. Of these, I'm surprised by Vayne herself. I didn't expect Vayne, and I also didn't expect Luoyi to be ranked so high. I thought Luoyi would be a bit lower right now. Also Vexana? And that's why I think maybe those two mages should go one level lower and I would move Xavier up one. The next level would be S-, conditionals. We have Selena, Novaria, and Valentina. Well, out of these three heroines, I would go with Valentina. Valentina might be useful in some situations. And, well, Novaria is also good at aiming. The one I like the least is Selena, who is an assassin, and Demir is also not a pick I ever liked. I never liked Selena going mid. And finally, in the S+ tier of the meta, we have Kimmy, Angela, Sushin, Farsa, Kagura, and Eevee. Well, out of these, I'm really surprised by Angela. I didn't expect Angela mid, but surely in the Asian meta, she's being used in Asian competitive play, because otherwise I wouldn't have expected Angela in mid. And I also didn't expect Eevee to rise so much. I've also seen that Kagura, yes, has gone up a lot recently. Of these, I'd choose Sushin. She's really annoying and can take a lot of damage, making her hard to kill. So if I have to choose one of these mages, well, I would choose Sushin. Now let's go with the gold lane. At the lowest level, C, we have heroes who need a buff. Hanabi, Popple, Koopa, Argus, and Zilong. Well, I imagine that Argus and Zilong must be very popular in Asian competitive play, because at least here in Latin America's solo queue, I've never seen or have very rarely seen Zilong in gold, and almost never Argus. They don't seem like good picks to me. I always prefer a marksman in gold, so I wouldn't recommend them at all. Also, well, it says there that they need a buff, and, well, then Hanabi, yeah, I do think she needs a good buff. And what annoys me most about Hanabi is that she's one of the most used in solo queue. There's always a Hanabi. And the worst part is she always ends up ruining the game for you. The one I don't really agree with is Popple and Koopa. I think Popple and Koopa could be a couple of tiers higher because right now I don't think they're a bad pick for the gold lane. Next level, we have B. Okay. We have Layla, Milla, Chang'e, Zun, Cho, and Roger. Well, we're still seeing some weird picks, but I'll say it again. It must be because of the Asian meta and the Asian competitive scene. But I don't completely agree there, especially Cho and Gold Lane. I don't know what strategy they'll use. The one that could actually work is Zun, because he destroys towers really fast. And, well, Milla and Layla, who are classic marksmen, can still be useful in the late game. Next level, level A, decent. We have Esmeralda, Brody, Freya, Clint, Melissa, and Helkert. Well, the one that surprises me the most is Esmeralda. I didn't expect her in the gold lane, but I'll say it again. I don't recommend her, especially if you're in a lower ELO. I really don't recommend Esmeralda because if they know how to counter her, you won't be able to do much since she's a tank mage who doesn't have crowd control. She can take a lot of damage, but once they figure her out, she's much less useful. You have to be very skilled. Next level, a plus would generally be good. We have the new marksman Obsidia, Irithel, Ruby, Carrie, Kimmy, Beatrix, and Leslie. Well, we see a fighter there again, Ruby. Honestly, I don't know what strategy they're using to play Ruby in gold lane, so if anyone already knows why they're using Ruby in gold, let me know in the comments. This way we all learn together. Next level, we have S-. These would be conditional heroes. Vayne, Sissy, Bruno, Cloud, Lunox, and Ixia. Well, we see that Vayne appears again there in gold, but I think it's because Vayne destroys towers really fast. And well then, Sissy's tough, just like Ruby, so I imagine maybe it's the same strategy. And finally, in the highest rank, which would be the highest level, S+, meta heroes, we have Nathan, Granger, Moskov, Harith, and Wanwan. In this one, I totally agree. I think these are the best marksmen right now, with a lot of potential. We see that Harith stays, Wanwan too, and Nathan, whose strength I think is that he can melt towers in just a couple of seconds. And finally, let's go with perhaps the most anticipated role, the jungle. In Tier C, heroes that need a buff, we have Jhin and Aulis. Well, I totally agree. The other day I tried Jhin just for fun, just to see how he was doing in a ranked match. And honestly, it was really bad. Jhin is really bad right now and urgently needs a buff. The same goes for Aulis. Next level heroes would be okay. We have Alice, Zun, Tammuz, Freya, Guzion, Balmond, Roger, Harley, and Tammuz. Back to Tammuz. There's a mistake. You can see it in the tier. Well, I totally agree with these two. I think that while they're good, they're not on the same level as other junglers right now. Next level A, decent heroes. We have Karina, Popple, Koopa, Helkert, Dairoth, Esmeralda, Guinevere, Leomore, Paquito, Benedetta, Martis, and Lucas. Well, that's quite a large group of junglers. And again, we see Esmeralda. Honestly, I don't see Esmeralda as overpowered, guys. To be honest, I don't see her as overpowered. But apparently in Asia, and it seems in competitive play, I'll say it again, Esmeralda seems to be strong, but honestly, I just don't see it. And out of these junglers, I would go with Popple and Koopa. I think they're a good option, and also with Leomore. The others don't really convince me. Next, a plus level, generally good. We have Hanzo, Akai, Nolan, Alucard, Ling, Eamon, Julian, Suzhou, Exborg, and Barats. Well, I'm surprised that Hanzo is back in the meta. I thought Hanzo had already been forgotten. But apparently he's back. I'm also a bit surprised to see Akai jungle there, since I hadn't seen him in a long time. So it looks like Akai jungle is coming back. But out of these, if I have to choose some, well, I would choose Exborg. I think Exborg as a jungler is really overpowered. He's very tough. And as a jungler, he's even more annoying. Then Julian, also as a jungler, I think he's still a good option. And Eamon as well. We move up to the next level, Conditional S. We have Vayne, Fanny, Hayabusa, Joy, and Uranus. Well, I pretty much agree too. What I didn't expect was Uranus as a jungler. I really didn't see that coming. And finally, S+ level meta heroes. We have Fredrin, Lancelot, Yi Sun-shin, and Vaxia. Well, out of these, I would definitely go with Fredrin. Honestly, Fredrin is really overpowered. The other day I faced Fredrin jungle a couple of times, and he's really tough and also deals a lot of damage, so I would say by far Fredrin is the best jungler right now. And if you face a highly skilled Lancelot, he can easily defeat you. And then Yi Sun-shin, a hero who always performs well. I didn't expect Vaxia, but apparently he's used in competitive or in Asia. So, well, guys, this is where we end this new tier list for what's left of October and the beginning of November. When we start the next month, which would be the 1st of November, just know that I'll update the tier list again. Now I'm going to update it every 15 days. I think that's better. So leave your opinion in the comments. And if you liked the video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.